Cause yo, man, let me tell you a little something, man. These brothers running around, hard-headed, they get a little jealous, you know what I'm saying? Just like that, you know, they try to bring you down with them. But yo, Chuck, you got to tell them just like that.
Screaming gangster 20 years later, of course endorsed while consciousness faded. New generations believe in them fables. Gangster boogie on 2 turntables. Show no love, so it's easy to hate it. Desecrated while the coroner waited. Any given Sunday, so where y'all rated? The slavery lynching and them drugs infiltrated. Like that dog Chucky, baby. Keep coming back to live love life like I'm crazy. Keep it moving, rising to the top. Got press clean living, you don't stop. Revolution means change, don't look at me strange. So I can't repeat what other rappers be saying. If you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. Harder than you think is a beautiful thing. Get up,
Welcome back, everybody, to Hxro Labs Live. God, that song gets me fired up. I think we might have double looped it. We'll do some sound checks, get fired up. A little breakout just now on the majors, which is nice to see. Welcome back, everybody. Hxro Labs Live. Longour. God, that song gets me fired up. Kind of a crazy little dip today since last night, but I'm not too surprised after you get a big daily confirmation, which is what I think we got last night. That's what I know we got. It's whether it plays out or not. Nice to see. And welcome back, everybody. Oftentimes, as you make that higher Hxro Labs Live, Longour, higher low, which is what we're experiencing today. If that W plays out, we'll show you that W on the thing. Today's main focus, we're going to be thinking about sector rotation analysis. So if altcoins break out, continue to break out, to be honest, they're kind of like in a big bull already, have been basically flat or pulling back for the last couple of weeks. So we've got an opportunity to be part of another much larger leg. If it does come, it's probably gonna be a lot bigger. And so just thinking about, yeah, how's that echo? Good now. All right. Hello. Hello. All right. So I'm just putting together watch lists this morning and last night, and Sweetie Boop has been helping me out with that. My intern, also a smart fellow. So if you guys want to follow him on Twitter, you probably should. Let's give him a proper shout out. This guy does hard work, and he's wicked smart. He's a rising star. Let's go see him on Twitter. Look at this guy, 68 followers, criminally underfollowed. So if you guys want to give my little cousin a follow here, he's interning for us at the fund. He put out a really good report on optimism in the whole ecosystem back in November, December last year. So I think he's worth a follow. He does a lot of good stuff, and he's also a TRI vet, so he does a lot of good trades and TA setups. Anyways, we'll start off the show giving him a shout because he built me some watch lists. So I'm just finalizing the Arbitrum watch list. It's kind of already built, but I'm just adding a few names because I haven't really been looking at Arbitrum Eco since last summer when I was prematurely excited for an Arbitrum kind of wide rally. So I'm going to start paying more attention to this right now. As you can see, we've got a lot of double-digit red today, which is generally tells me it might be time to be looking for dips, but not all 10% dips are created equal. So yeah, you can see back here when I was looking at DPX like in October, so not really summer, but like the fall. And it's slowly trending up. Now, I haven't looked at Arbitrum in a long time, and I heard that they've been going nuts. Obviously, Grail is one I have heard about. Never really went to trade it because I felt like I missed it. It looks pretty cooked right now as far as TA goes. So we're going to get into some of these coins, not specifically Arbitrum. In fact, out of this list, Arbitrum is the one I am least excited about. as far as like sector rotation goes. Look at the ES today. Love this. I saw this possibly cooking up this morning when we put in this cute little W on the hourly, and there was nice volume to open the day, which is usually a good sign. And we're seeing continuation now, which is always nice to see, even though I don't fully subscribe to the idea of like, let's trade Bitcoin by like, echo trading what's going on over here. It certainly does not hurt to have this thing bouncing off of this high time frame downtrend right here. It actually front ran it by a few pips, but that's no big deal. I mean, at this point, I consider this tagged, and we have the 382 kind of confluence there. And that's if you were to like take the fib of the October 13th low all the way up to the, what is that? What date is that? Monday, February 4th high. Get this nice little pump chaser zone. So look, I stay bullish, and that's sometimes hurts me. When it works really well. When it hurts less than it works well when it works. If that makes sense. Small losses, big wins, typically. And so that's what I try to keep it at. But yeah, it's pretty bullish through this. There was a little channel. It broke. Oops. So I'm not trading this, thankfully, because I'd probably not be doing a very good job of it. However, we are at a level. And if we go and now pivot that view over to, let's say, Bitcoin. I've been watching SHIB as well, as you can see. Not long on SHIB right now. Go take a look at Bitcoin. I'm zoomed right in, just basically trying to become a day trader, apparently. So we just had this really nice move up last night. Now, this is a range, actually. I got this off Trader Kaz, K-O-Z, Trader Kaz. One of his videos popped up on my feed yesterday, and he was... What's up? Vic, can you mute? Speaking of... All right, there we go. Got it in my ear. Okay, so we've got the Monday high, the Monday low, and Trader Kaz. God, I should really get his name right. Let's just go look him up. I'll give the guy a shout. I appreciated his view. I think it's Kaz. I don't see much of his stuff on my Twitter. Anyways, he put out an interesting... that's a video. He put it in an interesting view right here, just outlining some ranges. Now, I was stuck in an old range. I'm not really a day trader, not really a range trader. Ultimately looking to build positions through this dip for the higher time frame, continuation, which is what my analysis tells me we will get for now. Anyways, so he had the idea of zooming into this Monday range, and it was actually a really nice sweep. So yeah, been watching us just basically sweep these highs and slide almost perfectly horizontally down into here today, into this reload zone. Little bits of bullish divergence down here on lower time frames, and we just got the pop up before the stream, which is really nice because I can't really trade or watch too closely during the stream, and I didn't really want to sweat any kind of stop losses. Now, the tricky thing down here is like if there was a spike down and quick recovery, close green kind of thing, high volume, oftentimes I will just relong. And so that's what I mean by like, I tend not to try to like babysit positions too much. But when we're into this kind of nitty gritty, if we go like and then start moving again, like I'll typically try to relong against that low or take a higher low against that. So at around this level, I was kind of like, damn, I'm going to go live and do a live stream. I really hope that, this resolves. And actually just before we got this, which was really nice. So we're at the range EQ, could be resistance, could be the top of this move. But the bulls are waking up down here, and I'm prepared to just stick with the risk I had earlier, because this range aside, there's some larger areas here to be looking at, which is more where I think we're headed next after last night's daily W. So something more like, whatever this ends up looking like in direction, or like, the path, but something like this. And then if I want to really be a bear, like, probably not going to be a bear up there. Let's be honest. So yeah, those are my thoughts for today. That's what I'm looking at on Bitcoin. Zooming out, let's use the Trendmaster. Nice little tool. First things first, let's go look at why I'm excited after last night's daily close. So we had this here. It's actually even nicer on Ethereum. But basically, coming in, get the low, get the next low, break out. Now, the reason this isn't as sexy, if you're looking at the wicks, it's a higher low, but the candle body close is actually closed lower on the right. So not insanely exciting, but certainly doesn't hurt to have a nice fat green daily close, which also signaled a potential reversal on volume impetus. In other words, who is in control? Who is running the show here? The bears took over. The bears are running the show, and boom, maybe the bulls are waking up, which would be an early signal of a continuation the other way. So with that, looking over at ETH, actually decidedly stronger last night. An old harmonic here to get rid of. And so we had price basically, let's look at this a little more holistically here. So price coming down in, tagging the reload zone, closing, and then prints a low, prints a higher low, and then last night's daily close signaled a higher high for the first time since, a couple days ago, February 20th. Now, important to note that this is not just the be all end all, oh man, we're in an uptrend, we got to go. But it's time for me to start thinking about getting excited, getting long off of dips like this. And the tricky thing is, and this is what really messes with people. Okay, let's go back and get rid of that ink. This is what really messes with people, and it took me a long time to learn, and I'm still learning it. But after you get a confirmation like that, it's probably best 90% of the time to draw up reload zones and then wait to get long through those. Or if you're an eager beaver like myself and you like taking a little more risk and you can size appropriately and manage all that shit, even dragging up here to that higher low and then taking at least waiting for that reload zone fill here. So after confirmations, a lot of times you come in and that's actually, right, you have your low, lower high, higher low, higher high, trend confirmed, wait for the higher low, because that's almost always going to come if it is a new trend, which we're hoping it is, within this big mess of chop. This stuff will drive you crazy, guys. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at now. Looking at it from certain angles, certain views, I don't feel super strong about this right now on the 4 hour coming in, kind of bearish structure coming up retest. So we'll just see how it turns out. All that aside, today I want to talk a bit more about sector rotation. So if this whole thing resolves somehow to the upside, what coins do I want to be long on? Now, I kind of made what in retrospect is a misstep, and that's that in starting a new cycle, let's say from down here, I want to buy things, I want to be long, I want to express my bullishness in the market. Yeah, Bitcoin and ETH are going to move, but a lot of the alts, when the flag drops, a lot of the alts are going to outperform. And thus far this year, we've seen that as well. It's kind of once the market confirms strength, it's a lot of these altcoins, stronger ones especially, that fly, the blue chips. So rather than positioning myself in Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, AVAX, things like that, the larger caps early in the cycle, I'm actually reconsidering that approach, which is what I did through here, and it treated me well, fine. But if we go into this next leg, I think there's a lot better, higher beta plays that I want to be a part of. I want to be into that hot ball of money rotation game. And so what I've got here, again, shouting out to Samiti Boop, who helped me put these together today, is we've got some short lists. I guess I can delete my FTX pairs. Geez. Probably get rid of those. Awkward. Oh, the end of an era. Okay, so LSD, mushroom stocks, not that excited. But I've got LSDs, ZK sector. We've got decentralized derivatives, which have been having a nice run, and some AI coins. Could probably get rid of these Binance lists, to be honest, because I can't even trade there either. But I won't make you watch me do that. So how does this sector rotation work? This analysis, what am I looking for? Typically, your higher volume, higher market cap coins will move first. So come over here. And the nice thing is, let's just pick on perps, X perps. Huh? Oh no. Let's pick on perp, perpetual protocol. Maybe it has a thing. Perpetual protocol. No, optimism eco. Okay. How about DYDX? Is there a tag for this? No. So there's no tag for like decentralized derivatives. Double check one last one, GMX, Arbitrum. No. So that's not going to work here. In this case, it's really good to have the actual watch list. And looking at this watch list, you can probably guess, I wouldn't have to look, but GMX is probably the leader in that sense. So looking at which one of these is going to break first, right? Is it AI? Is it LSDs? They may all move together if ETH BTC breaks out. But if Lido pops, so I put an alert here. So 3344. So let's say that, and then I'll say hunt LSD watch list. Nice big capitals remind me that it's urgent. So if Lido breaks out from here, I think, I'm speculating, there'll be a very good chance that RPL, FXS, Anchor, all that will continue on with it. And they may echo that. And rather than positioning myself in all of these coins now, just to watch, say, AI sector run or some totally new one, right? There's some big crazy, like Axis Infinity runs, a ton of GameFi coins come out, ILV, Illuvium, they all start going nuts. So, I mean, you guys probably know the game by now. Anyways, so I made these lists. And when some of the leaders, in this case, Lido, start to break out to new highs, which this very well, not new highs. I noticed that yesterday after the stream. So this is a better Lido view. Now, right now, it looks very bullish in the sense that it is just flipping resistance into support. This was resistance. Now it is support. If now, like the RSI is starting to roll over a bit here. So it does look like it's lost some steam. Now, it could just chill here for a while the RSI resets. And that would be good. Typically, we're going to see that kind of consolidation. Now, if we break below this level, all bets are off, step back, not that interested. But for now, it is just kind of trading above this key level. And so if it breaks to new highs, I want to rush over here to my list and start hunting for setups on other coins. A lot of these are not the best charts too. Like it's like Binance or KuCoin, they just got listed. So in this case, RPL, I'd probably rather go over to Deck Screener. Check out Deck Screener. And let's see. Yeah, so a much different view here, as you can see. So it may be the case that as Lido's breaking to new highs, I come running over here to RPL and it's just chilling down here. And if LDO, the key to this though is LDO can't just like break out and like dreebly a little bit higher. Like it's got a pump, right? So when you get one of the leaders in a sector just ripping tits off, excuse my French, ripping faces off, then you can bet that the traders in the market, the speculators, the money ball chasers, they're going to start running around to anything that looks like that. And they're going to start buying it up. And it's probably going to echo. So we'll call it the echo rallies setup. And so that's generally it. And in a perfect world, we would get what we got earlier this year. Let's go see AI. Let's say AGIX. I mean, look at this thing. Holy shit. And there's an older chart of this. In fact, I'd rather look at that. AGI, Singularity Net. Singularity Net. Okay, look at this thing. So this is an old coin. I remember this coin coming out back in 2018. I was very excited about it. Didn't do all that much. Had a crazy run during the bull, went up both rallies, early 2021, and it had a new high late 2021, dropped all the way back down to the lows, and is now almost reaching price discovery other than this early shit. Now look at the volume though, right? Something very different here. If I was an investor, I might look at this and say, I don't care. A couple years later, this thing should be up and I'll just buy whatever. As a trader, I obviously can't just race in and buy it at 59 cents here because where am I going to risk to? I guess I could risk till 32. But point is, if this thing breaks into price discovery, a lot of these coins are probably going to start doing multiple percentages anyways. So I'm keeping an eye on FET. I was zoomed in on this the other day. We got a nice little confirmation here on the 4-hour. Resistance, 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 resistance. Slight little breakout. And it doesn't look like much for now, but looking back, that might be what in retrospect in hindsight is a very obvious signal. So I actually spent some of the morning hunting for setups here, but then as it turns out, I was long on Bitcoin and ETH on perps. So I wasn't quite ready to just like load this as well. Since if they roll over, the rest will too. But this is a nice area for fetch. And what we just saw on this chart tells me that this whole sector could rally really hard if AGAX and some others run. I think fetch is probably the number 2 on market cap list. Let's go see. Oh, doesn't have the right tag. DBC. It's weird. Some of these don't have the tag listed. Then you go to Deep Brain Chain. It has the tag. And then you go and fetch is on the list. So I don't know. Fix your tags, bros. But yeah, based on market cap, Singularity Net is now the leader. Fetch number 2. ALI, I never heard of, but there it is, number 3. Ocean Protocol 4. And so I know I'm kind of speculating that AI might be next, simply because it's been completely flat since the beginning of February. Just, it rallied into Feb 7th and then it dropped and it's just gone nowhere. In other words, it's primed, ready, a little more prepared for the next leg versus some other coins that maybe have just spent February rallying. This is one to keep an eye on. So I really like fetch here. Might have just talked myself into buying this PCZ hereabouts or shortly after the stream. Because again, zooming out, it just looks like a pause before continuation. It was not, after sweeping these highs up here, it's not something that just went like, like it's just kind of chilling up there, which usually means it's gaining strength for its next move. And certainly in my case, the way I trade, I'll be looking to get out up here. And because I'm in tight, the way we just looked at that, I could probably risk against some of the lows that are right in this consolidation, thereby having a tight stop, thereby getting nice risk to reward north of 8, which means like $8 for every dollar I risk. So without having to risk all that much, I could potentially get some really nice upside. And the EMAs here are really clean too, just like climbing, chilling. So if it does pop to another level, don't be shocked. And if the trigger for that is an AGIX breakout to new highs, also don't be surprised by that. So applying that same logic to the rest of these lists, we have the ZK sector as well, Mina being one of the top there, also looking delicious. Looked at it on stream 2 days ago on DeltaFi. Same thing, nice big fat trough. Rejected. Nah, breakthrough, retest, chilling on this level. If it breaks out to new highs from here, I have no one to blame but myself for not at least taking a chance against these lows. Because of course, that's all. That's pump change zone. Cool. But, it could stay bullish long term, even dripping down into here. And then maybe it's like, oh, it was a fake out. But actually in a few months, it went higher. But I'll tell you this, from this trough and this volume signal, huge amount of buying happening down at these lows. It is an overwhelmingly high probability that this marks the low, at least for the midterm, and that anything purchased down in here is something I can sell later for a higher price coming up, at least up around 168. And so thinking about all that, there's a few ways to skin the cat here. I'd be inclined more, given the way that ETH and Bitcoin and everything else look, and the way the S&P is kind of down at a level that I think it should bounce. I like this level here, especially because if I get long here or somewhere just near it, I can just risk to here. I don't really have to worry too much about like risking all the way down to these lows. That's a whole new setup I can get in down there. So here's the thing. ZKs aren't moving right now. You can see in this, let's go look at them before I have to put my foot in my mouth. I haven't looked at everyone. Zero Knowledge has its own list here as well. Yeah, so looking at the 7 days, okay, Everest ID. Oh shit, Everest ID, one of my old favorites, 4 cents. Oof. Has moved 45% in 7 days, but generally speaking, none of these have moved. So that looks like an anomaly. And if we go back to market cap, Polygon number one, Immutable X. So once some of these larger names here start to blast off, that's when I want to come back, look at Mina. Maybe it's already started to move. Maybe it hasn't yet, ideally. And again, that's that sector rotation analysis. So kind of picking, let's say 105. I just want to know if it starts to make new highs even locally. Well, 106. Hunting ZKs, question mark. Matic super strong this year. Not so much anymore, right? So my guess, given how strong this move was, kind of probably mirrors if we were to align it with Matic. Now, if I had more time, not like I'm running out of time, but if I had like more mental space right now, maybe an hour, you could sit here and you could do some comparison studies where you put all the ZKs on this list onto one chart. I'll give you an example of what that looks like. I can get deeper in here. Analysis. We'll change this to a line. Get rid of the EMAs because that's confusing as hell. Don't even need volume on this particular one. And certainly get rid of my line. Okay, so we have Mina as the orange line, and we have Polygon as the blue. They are in the same sector. You can see they're kind of moving quite a bit together. Let's give it. Now, the thing with these is they get all funky unless you align an area where there was like a collective low. So let's go do that. Boop. Yeah. So as you can see, obviously Polygon outperforming. Let's go to this low. That's where Mina put in its low. So it's like from there, it's actually outperforming since then. This is all relative, right? 61% higher on Polygon, 126%. But you can see there's a clear correlation between these two particular coins. And so let's just say, okay, we'll add IMX to the list as well. All right, and we'll go back to that December level. So do you see there's correlation here? Now, okay, for argument's sake, let's do ETH. Maybe they're just all correlated and it's bullshit. RT. Yeah, not so much. Not quite as much. Let's go a little further down the chain and say something like, oh, fine, AGIX. Oh, doesn't have much history. Let's get one with better history. Oh, right. So they're not all correlated. So at least we've disproven that thought that I had randomly as we were doing this. So let's get rid of this. So I might put together an entire chart of these EKs, or at least the ones that I can trade. They're at the exchanges that I can trade. They're liquid enough for me to trade. And then as one starts to move, watch the others. What I'm looking for is a delayed reaction. It's really not that helpful for one to break to new all-time highs and then like everything breaking at the same time. There's no real edge there. So what I want to see is one start breaking higher. Just say Matic in the next 3 weeks does that. And then I notice that these two are just like starting to creep higher. And then I can really get on board. And that really would work for any coins in any sector where the leaders start to run. So that's kind of like one of the themes I wanted to talk about today, sector rotation. Yeah, so I like these comp charts. They give you something, some kind of relative performance stuff. And then also based on these, you can also see who the leaders are. It's typically the highest volume, highest liquidity coins, like Matic in this case. But yeah, you could put this together for AI. You could put this together for LSDs. Let's do that. Let's take these off. And let's shut down. So here's LDO. Let's just do a couple of these. RPL. Yeah, on Coinbase. The problem is a lot of these have only been listed recently, so we're not going to get the full history. So we'll have to go to the start of RPL. Yeah, see, RPL is coming off a little harder than LDO. What else do we got here? Frax. Can't forget my Frax. Also, delayed, not following LDO as well. So I like this one because in this case, if LDO doesn't, M top here and just need to cool down the whole LSD space until April, which sounds like is when the testnet's coming, or excuse me, Shanghai. If this thing starts to run, then yeah, Frax, RPL, find some levels, hunt setups. And then you just kind of like get a better sense of like the when, rather than just saying, hey, I'm bullish on this coin and I'm just going to park capital in it blindly for the year. It's very easy to miss out on like 2 or 3 different sector rotations until your sector hits if you just do that blindly. As tempting as it is after you see someone shill random coin X online and then decide you're just going to park a big position. So yeah, sector rotation analysis. So we'll keep up with that on the show over the next few weeks. I'm going to start getting into it a little more aggressively as far as like setting these kind of all-time highs, alerts on some of the bigger names. Frax has just been flat since January 20th. So I think when this thing goes, it's going to have a lot of sauce in it. And if you zoom out on it, it looks good. And so the reason I get into all of this like sector rotation analysis, first of all, if I'm a swing trader, like long-term high time frame, I just want to catch like the big market swings. So I'm like buying depression and selling greed, whatever. Then a lot of this just really comes down to overthinking it. You look at a chart like this, you say, hot damn, this thing looks great. And it's just chilling. It's not coming back down. And even if it does, you've got a nice little rollover level here. So based on this volume, I mean, there's a pretty overwhelming case to be made. Very strong case, I should say, that like eventually this goes higher. And so I guess the question in that case is like, if you're just going to overtrade the market and you're not going to nail that sector rotation, it might be better just to find some strong names with strong bull cases in one of these sectors that are already proven to be hot this year and start thinking about, best ways to trade this. For example, taking a position, something like this. Like even right there, I'm getting $3.50 for every dollar I risk. Just longing it here, risking down to here, risking losing money at the potential of making 3.5 times that money. So there's actually a decent little setup here on FXS after this nice little W. So I don't think I would long at this exact minute, but I would certainly be interested down through this. I think they actually might have to take a closer look at that. My damn self. Yeah, Frax is one that I've had trouble with this year in the sense of like, buying, selling. Okay, that was a decent little trade. Holding through this, pick some up here, didn't sell it, ended up peaking it here. So like I've been kind of chopping my way through this instead of just building a position and holding for what I inevitably imagine will be a 3-leg full cycle sometime this spring. Again, probably overthinking some of this stuff, but that's what I wanted to talk about today because there are so many bloody coins. And the question came up on stream last Tuesday from Gunny. He said, okay, so looking at all these charts, looking at all of these absolutely delicious setups, which is like big, long trough, big breakout on volume. It's going to stop after one little leg? Probably not. So how do you pick? How do you choose? And this is one way that I might approach that, is with watch lists and then staring at the top names, waiting for them to make the move, signaling that that list is next, and then positioning across that list. That's it. That's all I got. Let's check the chat. Oh my God, forgot about the chat. Got flustered. Hey guys, what's up, JB, Nat, Nathaniel, Nico? Screen is a little hard to see. Yeah, you know what? Maybe let's take a note of that, Victor. Our producer, Victor, he's in the chat, so you can always put in requests. And there are being some requests to increase the size of the screen. So I don't think you have to do that right now. We don't have to do it live. But we'll take that note into consideration for the next show, because I certainly don't need this much space. well, now I'm full screen, but you know what I mean? I don't need that whole space in the bottom left. So we could probably increase the size of the charts since it is a very visually heavy show. The layout is so. Bars occupy majority of the screen. Yeah. So feedback on the new setup is very welcome, guys. We will take all that into consideration as we work through a transition into our new digs. Let's go look at the Bitcoin chart. Let's see how that price reacted to the range EQ here. Lots of lots of ink. Yeah, so my goal through this, for better or worse, rather than just like succumbing to the range and just like sitting here and trying to be like long and short and long and short and long and short, is just to build positions to the long side through this. And the risk of that is that they all get nuked and we go lower. Then I can start thinking about hunting other trades. The upside to that obviously is building a position through this level. If we do end up, if this does end up being the bottom of this kind of range pre next leg, these positions are going to aid really well. And I feel strongly enough that that is going to happen or could happen, that I've basically focused my time the last week or so on that. But it's not easy, guys. I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, look at this P&L, man. Like, this shit's hard. But knots in your stomach sometimes if you get sized up at a certain level and it doesn't quite go your way, or you get stopped out 3 times before you get your fill. And it's really hard to know when to quit. I had to quit on this after trying to be long through this, what I expected to be a much quicker flag. We lost this level. We came up, retested it. I didn't get out. I didn't get stopped out till down here. So I took a bigger hit than I had to, giving back some of the gains that I made up through here. Not all of them, not even close to all of them, but definitely more than I needed to give back. And so, as we get through this, and then obviously down here, I don't want to abandon my thinking because I was early on thinking it. That's something I would have done back in the day. You say, oh, screw it, I'm just going to quit now. And because then what does that leave me if we do end up, trending up through here? Like, it leaves me the case of where I'm like, now I have to think about getting long up here, or I have to think about getting long up here. And like, good luck finding a cute, out and retest. It's probably going to be a little more aggressive if and when that comes. So yeah, just been grinding through this range. It's been a little bit annoying and choppy, but that is usually the way she goes. Drives you a little nuts before it pays you. So, currently I lose interest in all this below here. And the exception to that, I guess, is if we come in and sweep it and then recover this range. I regain interest pretty quickly and I take one more shot against that new low. That's the exception. Otherwise, I'm getting the fuck out. If we lose this low and just lose it, I'm not getting back in for a little bit. In that case, I think I would have to say we're gonna have to retreat. Still local, still local 4-hour, but that's where I start retreating down into this kind of reload zone. We have like a shitty month or something. Very possible, but for now I don't think we get that. I'm certainly not shorting into it or waiting entirely for that. Like setups up here, risking against these lows, risking against these lows. And what's really gonna be hard for a lot of people is if we get up into here and then roll over yet again. Don't count that out. Don't rule that kind of shit out. This is the kind of washing machine cycle that we're in for this year. Even as we grind higher, it's just going to be making it very hard for you to get into all the positions you want and all that stuff on perps and with size. If you just want to mess around and be DCAing every time somebody's calling for like 12K lows, which is basically through these, typically that'll age really well through the midterm. Take a little leverage out of your life. Certainly don't need it in crypto. And all this stuff gets so much easier because then you don't have to worry about risking to this low or this low or this low. You can just kind of be building positions. So yeah. Do I think Chainlink is still a good project? Yeah, I mean, it's used. The Oracle is used widely. Do I think that the token is driving an appropriate level of demand given the usage of the protocol? I don't know. I've never been much of a Link Marine. It was like the golden boy of the last, the golden child rather of the last bear market. Um, let's see. It's kind of a dinosaur now, but it's still getting a ton of use. I mean, all the time I hear about Chainlink oracles. So I think the dream was that all of that Oracle use was like, this was like, oh man, everyone needs the token. Turns out it was more like usage was creating speculation that everyone would need the token. I'd be curious to see how much of this has to do with the use of the actual protocol dropping off. My guess is not that much. In other words, humans did what we do best, which is overestimate in the short term how meaningful something's going to be, and then likely underestimate in the long term. Here's here's some opium for you. Forget all about it, and then long term, you look back and like this is some kind of like anthill, and Link oracles power all of DeFi forever. When DeFi becomes a huge thing. I don't know. I don't have much of a case on Link. As you can see, it's done absolutely nothing for me as a trader. There's been nothing here, so I haven't missed it. If I'm looking to trade a coin, this is not what I want to see. This is Boeing. Boeing. Really just this big fat range. Now, what it's doing is it's accumulating strength. So once it breaks up and out of this, probably going to take back quite a bit of space here. But for now, it's just not doing much. And given everything we talked about today and how many hot sectors there are and how many lower liquidity, lower volume coins that have more potential, shiny new toys, etc., even getting long against these lows for me is not that sexy. I would rather wait until the market shows with buy volume that it's ready to go and it breaks this level. And then, if you look actually and compare this to Mina, this is kind of like what Mina was doing, but then you can see the difference in the chart, right? So like if this was the Mina chart, it would do something like this. And then it would be like here. And underneath this move up, you would see these massive buy volume bars. That's a very different picture. And I'm going to do a very quick comparison to show you guys the difference. Oops. So you see the difference? Yeah. See the key difference there? And there's some other key differences, like, Mina was just kind of trending down. Like it wasn't a flat bottom. It was kind of like dipping, dipping, dipping. I'm guessing there was some bull divs here on the weekly or whatever. But it's a very different looking chart. It looks much more ready to go. And it is something that I'm way more attracted to trading in the midterm, short term. So hopefully you can see that difference, guys. The volume is the strongest signal you can find when it comes to these like accumulation troughs and breakouts and all that. Oh, Link ETH. Okay, let's check out Link ETH. Doesn't look that good. I mean, again, not as special as what else we're seeing. It's certainly at a level. So if you're, if I was somebody who's like, hey, I'm looking to invest in this project long term. I am an investor. I just want to be positioning myself at a time that is optimal in the 3 to 5 year time horizon. Like, look at this thing. Beautiful investment level. If you think it's going to go up. I'm not saying it will. And I bet if we drag out a reload zone, it looks like it's below the 88.6, which is not ideal. It is, yeah. So it's even lost the 88.6. So who knows what's going on with Link? I think we spent enough time on it. It's just not, it's not the flavor right now. SNX looks great, or at least it did the last time I looked a couple weeks ago. Yeah, much, much sexier view here. Having just recently switched over to Optimism gives it a little bit more of like an Optimism eco name, which it hasn't really expressed on the chart yet. It's not like it's joined that party just yet. Looking at the weekly, can see some bull divs, I think. Let's see. Yeah, kind of. Never really got oversold on the weekly, but you can see here it made a low. I think price made the lower low, yeah. So there was a bull div on the weekly, even though it wasn't below the 30 line, it's still relevant. and never even flipped negative on the MACD through all this. So very low momentum dropping here. In other words, the end of a move. And now what we're seeing, this is the weekly. Look at the daily. Sure, the bulls are waking up. Yep, they are. So again, looking for that volume. What's going on? This is not just a slow trickle up. In price, it looks like it, but in fact, there's a ton of volume behind that. Large players building large positions. Typically, they're going to protect those levels. In other words, they're not selling yet. That's the idea, anyways, is that they've put in a serious amount of capital at these levels. And given the liquidity on these coins, you can't just exit that position with a click. And so oftentimes what you'll get is volume precedes price, and then you get into a proper fuck you rally. Maybe it's just up to this kind of reload zone. For those of you wondering, that's sort of like up here. And then comes back down through the summer, whatever. Like, who knows what all this looks like? Point is, when you see big volume coming in off lows and early signs of after a year of support turning to resistance, support turns to resistance, breaks down, support, lose it, turns to resistance. So that's a downtrend. Support through here becomes resistance, right? And so now what we're seeing here is, this was resistance, support. Went from resisting price to supporting price. Key shift. And so what I think is that we are at the beginning of a new trend. And the question is, how big is the trend? How long does the trend go for? Is it the bull cycle? Everyone wants to say like, oh, this isn't the bull cycle. And I don't want to really guess at that. I just want to see that there's an uptrend and get long on it. And when it flips back to a downtrend, I want to get out of it. Because if it goes higher and further than a lot of people think, then they'll regret just sitting here and blowing it off saying, oh, it's 2023. We're not in bull cycle year yet. 4-year cycle. Come on, guys. You know that. I don't know that. I mean, I do. But I'm happy to be pleasantly surprised. And it's the same kind of thing as up here. When a lot of people had their doubts about the downtrend, they said, well, no, we're in a crazy bull market. Like, I'm just going to hold. And this was ultimately probably on the weekly time frame, a little easier to see. So really on the weekly, we flipped bearish all the way back up here. So you had a high, you had a lower high, and then you broke here. And it even gave you a few chances to sell in things like short reload zones. Like all these push-ups should have been faded, and they were. Those are the places you want to be thinking about getting aggressive and shorting the market. Easier said than done. I was probably too busy. What was this, April 2021? Oh, yeah, that was like the dog season crash. So this thing never had a second rally into the end of the year. That's crazy. Point is, there was a time to be thinking short and stay bearish and blah, blah, blah. And it was at the time when no one was really doing it. And now we're seeing some pretty clear signs of a trend reversal. And so rather than brushing off this year, saying, well, it's not 2024, 25, so we can't have a big crazy rally, why not just trade the trend? At least find setups that are in the direction of the weekly trend, which is now up. Now, I've heard some people speculating saying this is only the real significant high and we haven't retaken that on anything yet. And so we should wait for that. And there's different strokes for different folks. The reason I like to start hunting aggressively early is because I'm uber bull in general, but also because then I can get tight invalidations. If we rally up to here and then it's like, oh, now I'm going to get long, where am I risking to? Where's my risk window? It's pretty big. So, yeah. But the EMAs are still down, so it's very early. I don't think this is something I need to FOMO into. But I really like the look of SNX. Breakout. So, looks great. Looks great. Tastes good. Looks great. Great way to stay in shape. I'm not holding MENA at the moment. I was. Yeah, I had to rebalance a few things. So going back to the sector rotation analysis I talked to at the start of the show, that's why after sort of having bids set to essentially like insta buy Mina, I think it was like 101 I bought it somewhere through this. I think it was actually here because it dipped on me right away and then it got, I was a little bit of profit. Either way, I decided that it probably needs a little bit of time in the way of like 2 to 3 weeks. And there were some things moving and there were some trades to be made. So I decided to consolidate my portfolio and focus on what was hot at the moment. And so, like I said, as far as catching next waves, as far as being a part of Mina, if it does run up, I've got to zoom in on this chart, figure out when Matic looks ready, because I think it was Matic that was dragging up the entire ZK narrative. And it is, these are getting into some areas where I'm getting interested again. It's actually a pretty sweet level on Matic. And also, the thing that I struggle with right now, admittedly, as a trader, is the indecision on the ETH and Bitcoin high time frames. Because if they do drop off and we do take, a deeper, higher low, or even, God forbid, a lower low, then all these setups get nuked. And I don't need to get nuked on 10 different setups. I'm comfortable losing on one, thank you, or two. And so not getting, spread out into 10 positions that all go into stop losses just because Bitcoin or ETH drops. These setups are going to be a lot easier. And I'm already growing more comfortable with this because we had the dip and the breakout. And this is just that reload zone, higher low afterwards. That's the way I see it right now. So as I say that, maybe it is time to start thinking about it. But it is just hard through this chop to get really high conviction on having like more than 2 or 3 or 4 altcoin positions because of the way I trade. If you're just like broadly positioning yourselves for the year, for the season, for the spring, then this is kind of just noise and it's probably best to ignore it. But no, I'm not holding Mina right now. Although after the stream, I got to do some hard thinking about where I'm positioned, how I feel about Bitcoin and ETH, because in a way, this is the long. Because we got the breakout, bulls are back, looking like it's done this and maybe ready to start going again. And today we're actually dipped right into that little local reload zone right here. So I don't know, guys. Today could be a big day. Nothing's going nuts today, but looking back in a couple of weeks, I'd be very interested to see if today's dip was the dip, like the shorter time frame dip to buy. Obviously, I hope it was. Hope it is. And on that note, I think Mina from the ZK sector, probably my favorite. And I think, that one. I think Fetch from AI sector is my favorite. Also kind of in that zone after breaking out and closing some candles on the 4 hour above here. Yeah. Those are 2 longs I could probably take today. The problem is I'm long as balls on ETH and Bitcoin. So I feel like I'm going to see some of that. So I may just take more medium sizes on this, tight risk, see what I can do. Really all eyes on this range, which for now is just retesting this range EQ. So if we come down off here all the way to these range lows, a lot of those local tight risk alt setups I just mentioned are going to get stopped out, as well as my Bitcoin long. And then I'm sitting there like, and of course that could be, so it's a tricky time right now for me trading. I'm finding it easier to just focus on Bitcoin ETH. And then once, even honestly, like even this, be a lot more comfortable. Obviously above here, much, much more comfortable. And in some cases, those alts might be lagging. So I'll be looking for stuff like that. We're going to be back on Tuesday next week. Yeah, a lot of people think long-term Link is a great buy now. I wouldn't argue with that as far as like location on the chart goes. It's typically a good investable level there below the 886. I just think that there's so many good projects here and I'm more excited about the rest of them. Oh, okay, I'm going to take one last look at Ren because somebody said insane volume on the weekly. Look into Ren, Hxro Labs. Something going on there. Insane volume weekly. Let's see. Whoa. Yeah. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Don't know what's going on with Ren. They were owned or at least purchased a lot of the shit by Alameda. They had some troubles after that. What's that? So the producer's in my ear. He mentioned that he's hearing rumors potentially of a Binance buyout. Now that could be brewing, and that would be big, and that would likely be a result of this. So that's pretty cool. So let's keep an eye on Ren. I don't know if it's on any of my lists here, but I'm going to add it to like a green list. So beyond taking all of these sector lists, I'm going to then flag a few of them like this. I could just click on the green. And then when I go to my green list, there's Matic. So I'm probably going to consolidate my green list, get a bunch of these kinds of names of each sector that I like, keep a close eye on them, set some alerts, and do my best to position myself in the sector that matters most. and let's be honest, guys, there's a good chance if alts run, they're going to run in tandem. You see ETH BTC here looking very testy up here at the daily. Got rejected this morning or last night. So watching ETH BTC like a hawk, because if this thing breaks out, watch out. Altcoins are probably going to be very favorable. And after touching last night and then dipping hard today, it's almost taken back that entire candle this afternoon. So if this thing breaks out, oh my God. Alts versus BTC are going to go nuts. Bitcoin probably could stay in that big range it's trapped in, and everything else could just run. So on that note, actually, I'm going to set an alert. What is that? 706. I want to know. I want to know the second this thing breaks higher. Probably going to run. And so that's the thing. And then you don't want to be like, oh my God, running around, with your head cut off, panicking about what to buy, what to do, FOMO. I want to have that plan in place. So going through those sectors, clicking on some green flagged items, having levels already on the charts, having alerts, having all that. And that way, if this goes, I can basically tell you right now, if we get any kind of W on the other side of this trend line, or even an aggressive enough breakout with new highs in volume, there's a pretty good chance I am just going to ape into a handful of shortlisted altcoins. Exactly which ones I couldn't tell you right now because I haven't finalized it, but I've talked about a lot of them today that I find interesting. Tuesday, Badger came up. I think they're working their way into the LSD space narrative. As you can see, some nice big weekly buys down in these lows. This is probably actually around my entry. I think I got into the mid $3 the other day. So I bought somewhere through here. So we're basically chilling at my entry. I like Badger for a midterm rally. There's a bunch of other names. I mean, that's the thing. So finding ways to shave that list down so you have 2 or 3 or 4 actions to take if and when this alert fires, because this is big. It doesn't mean it's going like pie in the sky. As you can see here, we already have been on the other side of this trend line and, just came back in. But eventually that breakout's going to stick and we're going to have a flippening narrative when everyone starts talking about it again, usually the top. But for now, it's just been boring as hell since basically September 2022, just nothing. So keep an eye out on ETH BTC, guys. That's probably going to be the harbinger of a big, massive alt season. And as you can see on the charts, the whales have been accumulating alts for months. You think they're going to dump on themselves? Probably not. They're probably going to pump their bags. Let's be honest. So stay vigilant. Don't get too caught up on 5-minute charts. I did that a bit this morning. It was a waste of time. And yeah, that's it for me today, guys. Thanks for coming by, talking sector analysis with me and all the rest of the good stuff. And I'll be back on Tuesday, probably later in the evening. We're going to push a pre-record live of the network effect with Gunny and myself, possibly Rob Levy. And then next Thursday, we'll be doing Deltafy live here in the studio as well. So from now until then, whatever you do, don't forget, always play from a position of strength.